listening to the Parafair Podcast with your hosts, Maria and George.
Welcome to the Parafair today. And today's topic is talking about adversity. How do we deal with adversity? In a story today, they're going to talk about how people deal with adversity in different ways. Really nice story. Sit back, relax, enjoy the story. When we get back, we'll talk more about how do we agree with this? Are we confused about some things? Or, some things that stood out to us.
Once upon a time, a daughter complained to her father that her life was miserable and that she didn't know how she was going to make it. She was tired of fighting and struggling all the time. It seemed just as one problem was solved, another one soon followed. Her father, a chef, took her to the kitchen. He filled 3 pots with water and placed each on a high fire. Once the 3 pots began to boil, he placed potatoes in one pot, eggs in the second pot, and ground coffee beans in the third pot. He then let them sit and boil, without saying a word to his daughter. The daughter moaned and impatiently waited, wondering what he was doing. After 20 minutes he turned off the burners. He took the potatoes out of the pot and placed them in a bowl. He pulled the boiled eggs out and placed them in a bowl. He then ladled the coffee out and placed it in a cup. Turning to her he asked, "Daughter, what do you see?" "Potatoes, eggs, and coffee," she hastily replied. "Look closer," he said, "untouch the potatoes." She did and noted that they were soft. He then asked her to take an egg and break it. After pulling off the shell, she observed the hard-boiled egg. Finally, he asked her to sip the coffee. Its rich aroma brought a smile to her face. "Father, what does this mean?" she asked. He then explained that the potatoes, the eggs and coffee beans had each faced the same adversity, the boiling water. However, each one reacted differently. The potato went in strong, hard, and unrelenting, but in boiling water, it became soft and weak. The egg was fragile, with a thin outer shell protecting its liquid interior until it was put in the boiling water. Then the inside of the egg became hard. However, the ground coffee beans were unique. After they were exposed to the boiling water, they changed the water and created something new. "Which are you?" he asked his daughter. "When adversity knocks on your door, how do you respond? Are you a potato, an egg, or a coffee bean?"
Welcome back from our story. And as I heard the story, I've been listening to this story the last couple of days and trying to figure out, where do I fit in? Am I a egg? Am I a potato? Am I a coffee bean? When adversity hits, some people can deal with adversity better than others. Some people cannot deal with adversity a lot. Some people aren't willing to change. I think when I was younger, I wasn't really willing to change with adversity. Some things I agree with in the story. I would complain about things, but I wasn't really willing to make changes in my life because I didn't think that there were other ways of getting to my goal instead of just doing it one way. But as I've learned over the years that I have to change. I have to change my ways. Today I changed some things up on the podcast today. Not because of things I was doing earlier. I want to just try things. I want to do different things. I don't want to do the same thing day after day. I want to change the podcast up so it can get better and better. So you may notice some changes on the podcast. And it's okay. We'll make it better and better as we continue to go on. But when adversity hits you, it's something that rocks your core. And something that we have to all deal with at various parts of our life. Sometimes we act like that potato where we're hard on the outside, but then eventually we mush up. We get really mushy on the inside. And sometimes we're like that egg where we're really tender or really delicate on the outside, and then when adversity hits, we seem to make, and I was watching my son eat hard-boiled eggs. He ate everything except the yolk in the middle. He really didn't care for that too much. But sometimes we end up like that, a little round, hard ball but it's really not hard? Or do we end up like that coffee bean? We come out better on the other side of adversity. I see a lot of times on the news lately, there have been a lot of these, they've been talking about the measles, they're talking about we've had tornadoes in certain places. And that's adversity that people are dealing with. I would like 3 or 4 months from now to go back and see how people dealt with it, how they deal with adversity. Did they run from it, or did they go toward it? Did they change to make, better? Next time it happens, it doesn't happen as much. I noticed sometimes in our business, we have adversity here. When I first purchased the business, a lot of things that bothered me in the beginning, now that I've dealt with it and I know that I have to change some things, it's for the better. Because I could have been either really hard on the outside and then really mushy and still not made any changes. But anytime that you deal with adversity, you have to have a plan. You have to have a plan. As we go and we talk about adversity and dealing with it, and as the girl was saying, she's trying, and she wants to complain, and her dad's like, look, I know it's hard out there, but it's not going to change until you pass the test. A lot of times we want to pass these tests to get better. Lots of times we want to pass a test of adversity, but we don't know how to really deal with it. We don't have tools to deal with adversity, because a lot of times we want to take the easy way out. We don't want to be rubbed the wrong way. We don't want to be challenged. We want everything to go smooth for us. And I wish everything went smooth for me every day. I really do. I wish I could say everything's easy. I really wish that I could say that everything that I try to do comes out okay. But not everything's going to be like that. And that's the cool thing about it. You got to keep pushing. You got to make some changes and say, well, it didn't work this way. Let's try another way. Well, it didn't work that way. Let's try another way. And you constantly keep trying over and over again. Today I was watching, we are into Legos at our house, and I was watching my son, and he saw this picture on the side of the Lego, and it was a toaster. He wanted to build a Lego toaster today. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, so we looked it up, we found the instructions online, and he just went and he just dealt with it. He didn't worry about what kind of stress it was going to bring him. All he knew that he wanted a toaster, and he went right through it. And there's some parts of it that he needed some help, but for the most part, he struggled his way through it. And I hear this all the time. They always tell this to parents, let the kid struggle. Let the kid struggle, because he'll get more out of it if he struggles, because down the road, he's going to change for the better. But as parents, we don't want to see our kids crying and upset about things. We want our kids to be happy. But I realize that they have to get through stuff. Lately, we've been on him about certain things that he needs to do in the house. And he kicks, he's a little kid. So he's going to test us. But as we stay on him, or we stay on him about there's certain things that he needs to do, he's getting better about it. I was watching today, as I was watching him, and I could see him thinking about better ways of making changes to his Legos. I was really impressed how patient he's becoming with certain things. Not patient with everything, but he's getting there. And that's all we could want as a parent, as we get better and better. And I'm not saying I'm the best parent in the world, but I'm learning to be a better parent. I'm learning how to communicate better. I'm learning how to do things better. And that's what it's about. It's about the change. I've watched over and over again this weekend about, they had this football draft, the NFL football draft. I look and I see these teams drafting these players. I could care less. And I hear the people that they didn't like who the person drafted, so they start complaining about it. But they never had a front office job. Or if they did have a front office job, maybe they got fired. Everyone's an expert. But they have to understand that a lot of these people that they're drafting, they didn't see the behind the scenes things, the drills or the certain things they put these guys through, because they know what adversity some of these guys can handle and some can't. They haven't really looked at their medical charts and say, well, he's only, the field we play on may not be good for his knee. He's already had 3 or 4 surgeries. Or maybe he won't understand the concept that we're running. But they want to sit around and complain about, oh, you should have picked this guy, you should have picked that guy. It doesn't work that way all the time. But when you're dealing with adversity, first thing you have to do is you got to calm yourself down. Because there's always someone that's going to be looking for you to take charge of the situation. Because I know sometimes when adversity hits and things go haywire, you got to have a rational person there. You can't be running around and just doing things that aren't really realistic. It doesn't make sense. So as you get your plan of action and as you deal with adversity, and it's okay to have adversity every now and then. I know some people that seem like they have adversity every day. Every day they have adversity. And I don't really think it's adversity. I think it's more or less for a form of complaining. They think it's adverse, but they just want to sit around and complain. But they don't want to change. They want to tell you, this is how it's going to be, this is how it's going to be. And I said, well, you're going to get the same result as you had last time. They don't care. They just want to be loud. They just want to just get people's attention. Bang their fist on the table and, this is how it's going to be. And then 2 weeks later, they're still complaining about the situation. So as we try to be more like that coffee bean, we try to be more like the coffee bean and try to change into something that's better. But I'm just saying it's not easy because we think that we only have one or two options. And I say this all the time. The people who really have it together, they have 4 or 5 different ways of solving a problem. If you call your plumber over and you have a leak and it's a very difficult leak and he says, well, I just know how to solve it one way. He's a decent plumber, but you want to call that person over. You want to call the person, he or she over, who says, you know what? I can solve it this way. I can solve it that way. Whatever I need, I have it in my truck. I can solve it for you. And that's how we have to be in life. We see a problem. Instead of running away from it, we attack it and tack it, and we tack it different ways, different perspectives. But I see a lot of times that I see a problem. A lot of times I will see a problem, and I know this problem I have right now. I'm looking at it, but will I do something about it? I am. But it just takes a matter of time to do it. So I got to do step 1, do that, step 2, step 3, and step 4, and it's done. But the thing is, I have to make changes in my life to make it better. I don't want the same results over and over, year after year, and then I get to the point where I have regret. I said, wow, I could have did it this way. And the changes that I've been making lately, I'm starting to see the results. And if you've listened to our podcast, I talk about my 90-90-90 thing, or my $100 day. And I keep seeing, I was like, wow, why didn't I start this 5-10 years ago? What took me so long? It's because I didn't want to change. Now that I see the benefits of it, and I'm not saying it's easy, now that I see the benefits of it, I'm willing to do it. But it's going to take time. It's going to take some effort. And it takes a lot of discipline. And another thing it takes is I have to have an open mind about it. You got to be creative. You really have to be creative when you're trying to problem solve. Well, we want to thank you again for coming by and listening to the Parafair podcast. And we enjoy all the wonderful comments that you have. And we will see you on the next one. Bye.
You have just listened to the Parafair podcast with your hosts Maria and Joy. Please subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or Google Play, and we will catch you on the next Parafair episode.